If you're a landscape photographer, I would put money on you having a 1,000,001 wide angle lenses. I mean, my bag is quite literally full of them on this trip, but I'm gonna let you in on a secret lens weapon that I think that you've probably been ignoring. Enter the telephoto lens. Telephoto lenses are an underrated tool for landscape photographers, bringing those further background elements closer to you in the frame and compressing it, making your photos appear more grandiose. And this is caused by an optical effect when we're using a more narrow field of view with the telephoto lenses, but also creating more distance between us and our subject, and then also between us and the background. And don't get me wrong, I love a open, vast, beautiful landscape just as much as the next girl, but I do think that there's an art to the subtraction for cleaning up your frame, eliminating the aspects of the image that are a bit more distracting, and just giving you an overall stronger image. So now let's go through a few scenarios that you could use your telephoto for a landscape environment. So another thing that I really love about the telephoto for landscapes, especially a lens that has a lot of range like the 24-105, is it gives you a great opportunity to find a subject for your landscape. So here we're on a great open body of water, and yes, we can shoot super wide and that's really all and great, but you also have a lot of activity going on here. We have a ton of birds and a lot of solitary trees that act as your subject for these landscapes. Although nature is sort of the subject, but these things are also kind of the star as well. They kind of anchor you in this space. We have things like these white American pelicans, which are really, really massive, but they're providing a great sort of mid-ground or even a foreground element for these landscape images. That is really cool. So they can kind of give you a little point of interest in this large body of water. So I figured because I keep stealing Matt's lenses, I might as well take a picture of him while we're at it. And this is a great opportunity to talk about the lens compression that you're getting with this. So Matt is pretty far down the road here, and I'm trying to fill the frame with him. And it's really, because we're at 500, we're bringing that background a bit closer to us because we're starting to compress it. We're farther away from the background and our subjects. We're sort of bringing them, it almost makes it look like that background is closer to Matt because it's almost closer to Matt than it is to me. So this is just another way that you can use these telephotos in sort of a landscape setting to really show that compression. While we were here, we knew that we wanted to try and do some nighttime photography, but when we were looking at the moon phases for the time that we were going to be here, we realized that it was going to be a full moon, which, although it's not great for star photos and Milky Way photos, it does present us with the unique opportunity to do telephoto moon photos to give you a very dramatic, or dare I say cinematic, photo of the moon. So here we're set up at 9 Mile Pond, and although I don't actually live in the Everglades, I was able to sort of scout out some locations ahead of time, and I'd go into a little bit more detail about that in our planning and scouting video, but we're going to talk about how I specifically planned for this shot while I was in New York in our office. So to do that, basically, you're going to need to know a little bit about the way that the moon and the sun are moving in the sky. So to do that, I recommend using an app that is a moon or sun tracker. Now, there's a lot of different ones. I personally was just using Photo Pills. So what Photo Pills does while you're not in the location is you can basically go on the app and pinpoint a location, and it will tell you approximately where the moon and sun will be rising and setting. So from there, when I saw which side it was going to be rising and setting on, I started to look at locations that have nice wide open spaces but might have a focal point for me to use. So after looking at Google Maps and Gaia and lots of pictures of the Everglades just on Google Images, I found 9 Mile Pond, which does line up pretty well with the moon rising. I mean, I haven't seen it yet. We're a little bit early. It's really nice that we got here early, even though it's freezing, because now I can test out all these spots. So when Matt was taking pictures of birds, I saw him over here, and there's this little entry point to the water, which, according to my app, says that the moon will rise nicely in the middle of that. So we're gonna try that out, see if that will work for us. If not, it's okay, but I like being able to test it out first. So the moon has definitely risen quite a bit. It's much higher in the sky now, so I think we're probably going to be done for tonight, but I am pretty happy with the photos that we got here. It did rise exactly where I thought it was going to rise, which was very exciting to see it just like pop over the trees. Something that I found kind of interesting when I was shooting, though, I don't know if this was because of the weather or like the clouds or haze, but the edges of the moon as it was rising, it was still pretty low in the sky. It was kind of fuzzy on the edges. It had like a bit of a haziness to it, and I don't know if that was maybe the sun reflecting or, like I said, the conditions that we're in, but as it rose in the sky, it got quite a bit clearer on the edges. Obviously with that gets a little bit darker. You can't see as much of the foreground, but it was really cool to see that happen in real time. And the moon, I was shocked. It rises very fast when you're tracking it and you're trying to get a great photo of it. So I think that I would really love to come out again tomorrow night and try and get another photo of the moon. It won't be full, but it'll be pretty full. Still really excited with how it turned out tonight. And now I'll have a better idea for tomorrow. So the tricky thing about the moon is that when it's rising, you really only have like a small window where you're able to get the landscape plus the moon properly exposed, because the moon, once it rises higher in the sky, it gets fairly bright, but also the landscape itself gets really dark. But what was cool was this morning when we were shooting is the moon is just starting to set over this cluster of trees. It's gone now, so you can't see it, but we'll show you the photos. But it was falling just below the trees, but the sun was starting to rise on the opposite side of the sky. So it was illuminating the trees in a really beautiful golden hour light, which was just awesome. So we were still able to get that full moon from last night that we were shooting this morning and get it with a nice, beautiful golden hour glow, which is really awesome. So I was really excited about that. I wasn't planning to shoot the moon this morning, but it was just a, happy accident that we were able to get that as well. And we'll probably go out again later tonight, try and get it rising again. But it's really awesome that we got it this morning too. It's like a 2-for-1 deal. What a treat from the moon this evening. We were really skeptical, or at least I was skeptical, that we were really going to be getting the shots that we wanted to get. So the moon, basically, we found out, was rising a full hour after it did yesterday. So yesterday the moon rose at about 6:09 and it was projected to rise at about 7:09 tonight. And what that really means is that it's also setting about 50 minutes after the sun had already gone to sleep. So I was feeling a bit upset because I thought that it was going to be incredibly dark when the moon actually rose. So we weren't going to be able to get that foreground element with the moon like we had shot yesterday. But we stuck it out. We figured we would wait until the moon was projected to rise. And lo and behold, it rose right behind the pond and had this beautiful, incredible red glow to it. And although it didn't have the same element as yesterday with the foreground being correctly exposed for the moon, it did also cast this beautiful reflection right over the pond. That was just an amazing treat. And I'm so glad that we stayed out for it. I was so ready to pack everything up and just go back to the hotel and go to sleep. But we stuck it out, we stayed here, and we definitely were rewarded for it. So which lens is truly better for landscapes, wide angles or telephoto lenses? I would never tell, but why don't you tell me in the comments below and let me know your thoughts. As always, I'm Sam with B&H, and I'll see you next time.